Hello friends, Tanya here with a video for Trinity Stamps, and today we're going to make this pretty autumn greetings card. We are going to use this bundle of Seasonal Winds, Beautiful Breeze, and Stitched Swirling Winds. These all coordinate together. I have a piece of heavyweight cardstock, and we're going to do some fun stuff with this color combo, which is Spun Sugar, Dusty Concord, Crackling Campfire, mustard seed. Yeah, did I miss one? Well, we'll find out. I laid down a layer of this spun sugar on this heavyweight white cardstock, and it wasn't very solid. I wasn't worried about it being splotchy or not because I just wanted this light layer. And then I laid the Seasonal Winds stencil down and taped it just on a couple of sides. And I'm using the Dusty Concord with my mini ink blending tool because I wanted a good heavy application. I just prefer to use the ink blending tools. That's my preference. And I am going to remove that stencil. And the next thing I'm going to do, we're going to take that Swirling Leaf stamp from the Beautiful Breeze stamp set, which is, I love these leaves. You can see them just kind of twirling in the wind, and they're designed to go perfectly with this stencil. You just lay them over the top, and I'm going to use these three colors, and I did forget one of them. I'm going to start, well, actually, I thought I was going to do a gradient across the card, but I changed my mind. I cleaned off the Crackling Campfire that I had started to put on the stamp, which actually is not a bad idea since I had not used this stamp before. I'm going to start with the Mustard Seed, which is a bright, beautiful yellow, and I am using the Distress Oxides because I am going to do all of this layering, and they're somewhat opaque, meaning they are more solid and you can't see through them as much, versus translucent, in which the Distress inks are. They are translucent, the not oxide version. I then went on to the Carved Pumpkin and stamped that down. I had kind of did a rock and roll technique with that. And then I came back with a third layer, and that was the Crackling Campfire. And then I decided to get a bit daring, and I added some of this Dusty Concord. I love how that turned out. You're going to see me use the Crackling Campfire and the Dusty Concord together later again. So I have all of these leaves stamped on there, and I wanted some sparkle in that wind swirl. So I'm going to stick this stencil back down, offsetting it just a little bit, and I'm going to secure all four sides, partly to mask off the paper so I don't get the ink and stuff where I don't want it. Now I'm going to take some liquid pixie dust and put it in my palette, and you see a ink blending tool there on the side, and that's how I'm going to apply the liquid pixie dust. And so I don't contaminate my liquid pixie dust, I have some on an acrylic block, and I am dabbing it through the stencil. Now I didn't clean the stencil before I started this, so I am picking up some of that Dusty Concord that was on there before, which is exactly why I wanted my liquid pixie dust on the acrylic block and not picking it up directly off of the palette. This way I don't get any purple ink in my liquid pixie dust in the palette, which, as if you've been watching me for very long, you know that I just keep rehydrating whatever's in the palette, adding more to it whenever I need to. I'm removing the masking tape, and we're going to get the big reveal here, and you can see that shimmer on the wind. I am going to use my heat tool to dry this really well because my next step is going to require well-dried paper. I do heat from the back and the front to help minimize the warping. And I'm also using a 110-pound white cardstock. That helps a lot also. A nice heavyweight cardstock can withstand more abuse. Next, I'm going to take the Stitched Swirling Winds die. I did not separate these. You could if you want. I don't think I'm going to because these coordinate with this set, and there will probably be more sets that will coordinate. Just hint, hint. You may want to make sure you pick up the Seasonal Winds and the Stitched Swirling Winds because you're going to want them again later. And that is what the stitching looks like. I think that is really pretty. Now I wanted some gold spatter, and I know that the Trinity shop did carry these Distress mica stains from Tim Holtz, and that several of you bought them because they sold out super fast. Well, here's a way to use them. I again put some ink right on my block, and I used my paintbrush to flick spattered marks all over the paper. Now when you use the Distress Spray Stain and spray it from the bottle, it's a much more concentrated delivery. Now I'm using the A7 Modern Embossed stack, and this is the 4.5 by 6.5 inch die, and I die cut this. Now I thought the Beautiful Breeze stamp set was designed for slimline cards. Well, you could certainly use it for a slimline card, but it isn't an 8 or 8.5 inch long image. It is just shy of 7 inches, which makes it perfect for the A7 cards. Next, we're going to take the Beautiful Sentiment, which is Autumn Greetings, from the Beautiful Breeze stamp set. And I am stamping those with Juicy ink on some heavyweight white cardstock again. And we're going to heat emboss them with some copper embossing powder. I'm going to sprinkle these on, and I did stamp this 2 times with the Juicy embossing ink, which gives great coverage for these really detailed but thick sentiments. I really like the boldness of these. It's not like big and bold, but it is a heftier cursive greeting, but they are a good size too, which really helps. So I'm just going to heat these until they are nice and melted and gorgeous. As you know, I love embossing. There are so many things that I really enjoy in crafting, and I think embossing has a very big impact without a lot of work. Next, we're going to use the coordinating dies for Beautiful Breeze. I'm just showing you how perfectly the leaves line up, and cut the leaves out for a window peek-through look or just for the leaves. And then I die cut the sentiment with the coordinating dies. Now this is a heavyweight white cardstock base. I have it turned inside out, so this is the inside panel of the card, and I'm going to do some stenciling and stamping on the inside of the card because I do love to decorate the inside of the card. I am taking the spun sugar again and doing a light stenciling of the winds on the inside, and then I'm going to take the spun sugar and the swirling leaves, and I'm going to stamp that. It isn't a perfect stamping, and that's actually what my intention was. And I am going to add the sub-sentiment from the same stamp set. I'm using my Misty corners to help align that long, skinny sentiment. Picked up the sentiment with the door of my Misty while I still had that alignment tool next to it to keep it nice and straight. And now I'm using the Crackling Campfire followed by the Dusty Concord inks to stamp the sentiment on the inside here. And I do love the color that that turns into. Such a dimensional color. It's so beautiful in real life. You'll have to give that combo a try. You wouldn't think orange and purple or red and purple would turn into such a pretty color. Next, I'm going to take another piece of heavyweight white cardstock and die cut it with the 4 3/4 by 6 3/4 inch panel from the Modern Embossed A7 stack. And I'm going to ink blend the edges with the Dusty Concord because I want a matte panel to go behind the main image with purple. And I want it to match perfectly. Sometimes purples can be a little tough. Next, I'm taking the Sentiment die cut heat embossed pieces, and I am going to layer this so there are a total of 3 layers. I die cut 2 more layers from in addition to the embossed layer from some heavyweight white cardstock, and I'm just gluing those together to give them a little more dimension and help them stand out better on the card front. The Barely Art Precision Glue works perfectly for this, and there are several other precision glues out there that would work well. I know that Trinity does carry a precision glue in their shop, and I will link that in the description box below, along with all of the other supplies that I've used today. Now it's time to start assembling the card. I've already put some coaster blank on the back of this panel and will adhere that to the front of the card, just making sure I'm eyeballing this pretty well. I do use my Misti as a little bit of weight to help that adhere nice and flat, and I'm going to adhere that second layer the same way. We'll put that Misti back on top to make sure it adheres nice and flat. Next, we're going to use these reverse tweezers and the same glue to adhere the sentiment, and I kind of nestled them into the swirling leaves and the wind. I wanted it to look like they're blowing right along with the leaves. And there's a lot of white space on this particular card, but sometimes that's what you need. I know I was wanting to add more and more things. I did decide to add some bling with the amethyst accent and the gorgeous golden baubles. I scattered them around on the card front, and I am embarrassed to tell you that it took me forever to decide on the placement of these particular gems. I'm not sure why. I think I was feeling a little overwhelmed with all of the white space on this card. And as I was doing this, I was thinking that this would have looked awesome on some craft colored cardstock, and I still think it would look pretty awesome on craft colored cardstock. I might have to do that later. That is the completed card. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, now would be a great time. And if you're interested in any of the products that I used today, check that description box below. There are a couple of videos here that I thought you might enjoy, and I hope you come back again soon. Until next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.